When was the last time you went to the hardware store and walked through the light bulb aisle? It's a fascinating place these days because they come in all shapes and sizes. Some have cutting edge technology and some, like this one, are from the very beginning of electricity. Here's what I'm fascinated by in light bulbs though. They're useless in and of themselves. No matter how hard I try, no matter how hard I focus, I'm not gonna be able to light this light bulb as it is right now, right? Is it capable of being lit up? Yeah, that's the way it was built, right? It has all of the pieces in there. It has the capacity to be lit up, but by itself, it can't do anything. What it needs is something that has the ability to light it up on the inside. And so every light bulb is dependent on some other source to do what it was created to do. Have you ever thought about that? We created light bulbs to light up rooms, but they can't do that by themselves. They need something like a lamp. And so when you screw this light bulb into this lamp, all of a sudden the entire scene gets different. And now that light bulb is doing what it was created to do because the lamp made it able. You might say the lamp enabled the light bulb to be what it was meant to be. And it reminds me of this story where Jesus comes across an individual who was both deaf and mute, or had a speech impediment to the point where it made him difficult to communicate with other people. And his friends bring him to Jesus and they plead with Jesus to heal him. And it's this incredible scene where Jesus sticks his fingers in the man's ears and he puts his spit and his fingers on the man's tongue, and in the end the man is healed and he can hear perfectly and speak plainly. None of which would have been possible without Jesus. I think that's the most awesome part of this man. Who he was meant to be later was impossible until he was connected to Jesus. It's interesting that so many times when Jesus is teaching, he talks about those who have ears to hear, let them hear. And then in things like the Great Commission, he talks about go and tell them, or go and preach, or go and make disciples, right? That would require communication. And so as this man is healed, it's safe to assume that he went on. In fact, the scriptures tell us the whole crowd that witnessed this goes off into the countryside telling everybody what he did, telling everybody who he was. Jesus enabled this man to do the things that Jesus ultimately calls all Christians to do. And as the church movement began, and it began moving to the east where this man lived in what's called the Decapolis, it's safe to assume he was an integral part. He was a part of some church community that was spreading the good news about Jesus. But none of it was possible until he encountered Jesus. You could ask, is he capable? Was he capable? Yes and no. Was he able after Jesus enabled him? Absolutely. You see, our capacity does not limit Jesus' ability. I think so often as Christians, we look at what God calls us to do and calls us to be in this life after Jesus, and we feel like we're not capable of those things. We're not that courageous, we're not that brave, we're not that disciplined, we're not whatever. The truth is, you're right. We aren't. None of us are capable of being like Jesus. But what's amazing about Jesus, what's so shocking about him, is that he enables those who are willing to be lit up to do the things that he calls us to do. That's the promise of a relationship with Jesus. And over again, in every miracle that we see Jesus perform, he enables something to happen because he has authority. So what might start as a question of capacity for you and I becomes a question of ability for Jesus, which ultimately ends up in a question of authority. And Jesus has the authority to make us able to do what he calls us to do. Your capacity does not limit his ability.